Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. In today's video I'm going to walk you through PlayStation 3 emulation on Android. Whether you have an Android gaming handheld like this one, or an Android phone like this. I've made this guide to be as accessible to everybody as possible, so it's going to be very simple and I'm going to slowly and clearly walk you through all of the steps you need to complete to get PlayStation 3 games running on your Android device. So what will you need? First, you'll of course need an application to run the games. Right now there are two. A PS3E and the very catchy named RPCSX UI Android. Both are completely free and some play games better than the other, so I would recommend grabbing both of them and giving them a try. But if you'd only like to get one, I would recommend the second option, because it's made by the original creator of the long-standing PlayStation 3 emulator for other systems. Before we jump into the applications, let's first get our games ready. Both of the applications require either an ISO game file or a PKG game file with a RAP file, which is the license to play the PKG. So you'll either need to get your games as an ISO or as a PKG with a RAP file to go alongside it. If you have a PKG and don't have a RAP license file, you can find these very easily on the internet. If your game is in a .zip or .rar file, you need to extract it, and I would recommend getting 7-zip on Windows or Kika on Mac. They are both excellent free unzipping applications. If your game is in a series of folders like this, you're going to need to convert it into an ISO or a PKG. It's very easy to convert into an ISO using the PS3 ISO Tools application. I will link this in the description of the video. You just simply need to open it, click Create ISO, choose the game folder you would like to convert, choose where you would like to save the new game to. I will just choose my desktop to be nice and easy, and in just a matter of seconds, you have your ISO file you can now use inside your emulator. So let's install RPCSX UI Android. Following the link in the description of this video to the official GitHub page, we can scroll down a little bit to where it says Releases. Click on Releases and scroll down, and at the top you will see the most recent update. The most recent one was from April 26, and if we scroll down underneath where it says Assets, we need to download this .apk file. So just click that one time, and that's going to download. We can then click Open and Install. After a few seconds it will be done and we can open the application, allow notifications, and it will likely actually download a newer update. We are now inside the application, but we have nothing here. So there are two things we need to do. We need to add our games and we need to add a PlayStation 3 firmware file. Thankfully, this is very easy to do. Hit these three lines at the top left of the application, and where it says firmware none, tap on this. And now you need to select the PS3 update.pup file. Thankfully, this is available directly from the official Sony PlayStation website, and I will link this in the description of the video. So just choose this file and it will start to install the firmware. You will see the circle begin to fill up to show how much it is installed, and if you drag down the notification shade from the top of the screen, you can also see more details here. So just wait a couple of minutes for the firmware to install. A good few minutes later and we are now done installing the firmware. So it's now time to add our games. And that is really easy to do just by pressing this big plus button at the bottom of the application. Now we have two choices. Do you want to add only one game file, or do you want to add the whole folder of all your PlayStation games? And I highly recommend putting all of your PS3 games into a folder called something like PS3 and just selecting that now. So let's hit that folder icon. I have all of my games inside this PS3 folder, so I'm going to select that and I'm going to choose Use this folder. We need to allow RPCSX to look inside this folder and open our games, so let's hit Allow. And it's now going to start populating a list of games inside the application. There will be a pop-up message about the RAP file that we need, the license file to run our games. it will say that it cannot be pre-installed and we need to use the lock button on the game to install our license file. Let's just hit OK here, and you will see that little padlock on some of our games. If you have ISO games, you don't need a wrap file, so there won't be any lock icon. Most of my games are in PKG format, so I will need to tell the application where that license is in order to run the PKG games. So as an example, let's say I want to play Rayman Origins, but I haven't yet applied the license file. If I just try to run it by clicking on it, it's going to say it's missing the key to play. So we can then hit install wrap file here, and I can come along to where my Rayman Origins wrap file is and select it. For me, the pop-up didn't automatically close, so I'm just going to hit the cancel button because you can see it starting to update now, and that padlock icon has disappeared. Instead of clicking a game and then trying to install the wrap file, we can also just click the padlock directly and then navigate to where our wrap file is and click on it. We now need to wait for the game to finish compiling before we can launch it. And the one thing I really need to tell you if you want to play PlayStation 3 games is you need to be very patient when you're first setting up the application. Compiling and installing the games takes a very long time. It could take more than 1 hour for one single game to install. Whether you're looking at a loading circle like this, or whether you launch a game and you're looking at this loading screen, be prepared to wait for a really long time. And I am talking possibly multiple hours. If at any point it looks like it's stuck and there's no progress after 5 or 10 minutes, feel free to just quit out of the game or close the whole application down entirely and then launch it again. I found that in many cases that completely fixes any freezes with installations. So just be prepared to wait a long time and feel free to quit out of the app or game and launch it again as many times as necessary to get the game running. Once the game's running the first time, it will be fine. But this initial installation takes a really long time. As it takes many hours to complete compiling, here's one I prepared earlier. When you launch into a game, you're going to see a few things on the screen. You're going to see a PlayStation controller overlay. You're going to see the RPCSX menu icon, which you can tap on to bring up some settings. And you're going to see a little white gamepad icon. Tapping this will toggle the on-screen overlay on or off. If you have a gaming handheld like me with a built-in controller, or if you're using an external controller like this one and you don't want to see those PlayStation controls on the screen, simply tapping this white icon will hide the PlayStation controller, and then you get a nice full screen experience. And if you're using a phone with no controller, you're obviously going to want to use the control pad on the screen, so tapping that gamepad icon one more time will bring up the on-screen controls, which work really, really nicely. One thing I've noticed about RPCSX that I really like is straight out of the box on every phone and handheld I've tried it with, it automatically recognizes the built-in gamepad. I've not needed to set up any controllers. And what's more, you can even use both the gamepad on your device and the on-screen controls at the same time. Everything just works really, really well. If your controller was not recognized, perhaps you're using some kind of external controller like this, and it's not recognizing the buttons properly, you can hit these 3 lines at the top of the screen here and come to Settings, scroll down to where it says Controls, and when you scroll down a little bit more, you will see it says Key Mappings. And here you can change any of the buttons. Perhaps cross and circle are mixed up. So you can tap here where it says cross, and then press on your controller what you want cross to be. I will hit this A button here on my controller because I want that to be cross. And you can see it registers it here as keycode button A. So you can go through here and change any button configurations that might be messed up, and hopefully that should fix your controls. But as I said before, in my testing, every single device I tested was perfect from the beginning. And if you have a device like the Odin 2 Portal or the Retroid Pocket 5, in order to make this cross and this circle like on a PlayStation controller, you're going to want to swipe down from the top of the screen and check that your controller style is set to Xbox. Blasphemous, I know. And with that, you are pretty much finished setting up PlayStation 3 emulation on Android. There will be a troubleshooting section at the end of this video, so feel free to skip to that if you're having some issues. And next, I'm going to show you how to set up the other PlayStation 3 emulator, a PS3E, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. Once again, I'll put the link in the description to the official PS3E GitHub page, and once you're here, scroll down to where it says Releases. Click on Releases and scroll down to the newest release, version 1.3 released 2 weeks ago, and underneath where it says Assets, let's download the 1.3 APK file. We're then going to click on the APK file to install it, click the Install button, and then open it. A PS3E is also available on the Google Play Store if you want to pay a little bit of money and support the developer, but this version from GitHub is completely free. Let's go to the next step, and just like in the previous application, we need to choose our firmware file, the PS3 update.pup file. So let's click this button, navigate to where we saved our file, and then click on the file. A PS3E is a lot faster than RPCSX. It installs the firmware in just a couple of seconds, and the games themselves also install a lot faster. Let's go to the next step, and now we're going to select where our PS3 games are. If your PS3 games are an ISO file, it's going to automatically find them and put them in the game list. If they are a PKG file, you're going to need to add them manually one by one. So let's select our PS3 directory. Here is my PS3 folder, and let's choose Use this folder. Let's allow a PS3E to access the folder, and let's hit Next Step. We now get asked to choose a font file, and I'm just going to simply choose From Firmware. Click Next. We now get asked if we want to select a GPU driver. This is something I'm going to cover a little bit later in the troubleshooting section. For now, let's untick the box and click Next Step. The emulator will now automatically select the best configuration. So let's just hit Finish, and it's going to set up everything for us. If you had your games in .iso format, it's now going to automatically put them in your game list. On my Retroid Pocket 5 here, all of my games are in .pkg format, so it hasn't found any ISO games. So what I'm going to do is tap these three dots at the top of the screen and hit Install RAP/PKG. Then I can come to one of my PKG games I've got here. Let's go for Tennis in the Face because it's a lovely small file size. And you'll see it didn't actually do anything. That's because we need to once again come up to the top of the screen and refresh the list. Now it's going to show my game. You will see the game has a nice colorful logo. That means it's ready to launch. So if I click on the game, it's going to start loading up my game. As I mentioned before, it loads a lot faster than RPCSX. Now, you still do need to be patient. You might need to wait a few minutes, maybe even up to an hour in some cases, but probably not multiple hours like you do with the other emulator. You'll also notice we once again have a nice on-screen overlay, but a slightly different one to the other application. And this time there's no button to toggle the overlay on or off. If you just simply don't touch the screen for a few seconds, it will turn the overlay off automatically. And just like in RPCSX, it does seem to also pick up controllers very well all by itself. After just a couple of minutes, the game seems to have finished installing, but we just have a black screen. So the best thing to do is to simply quit the game or quit the whole application and launch it again. So I'm going to just swipe from the left side of the screen, hit quit, and then launch the game again. It's very common with PlayStation 3 emulation that when a game finishes compiling, you need to quit it and open it again in order to play it. And as you can see now, the game is loading up. We're able to use the on-screen controls to play the game. You can see that's working fine. Or we're able to pick it up and use our actual dedicated controller, and everything is mapped completely for us and ready to play. You may have noticed that I didn't install a license file for this game, and that's because it's only a trial and actually doesn't require one. Let's now come up to those three dots again, install RAP/PKG, and let's now add our Rayman game that does require a RAP file. So let's choose the Rayman game. It'll take some time to install the game, and as is typical with a PS3E, nothing will happen until we come up to the three dots and refresh the list. We'll now see Rayman Origins in the list, but it has no color. What that means is we haven't installed the RAP file. If I try to open it, we will get this error message saying running undecrypted games is not supported. So we need to decrypt this game using the RAP file. Which brings us into the troubleshooting part of the video. If a game is not launching because of this message, you need to decrypt it with a RAP file. In order to do that, come up to the three dots, choose install rap/pkg, and this time we will not be installing the game pkg, we will be installing the RAP, the license file to run the game. So click this button, come down to where the Rayman RAP file is and choose that. Now once again, it will seem like nothing has happened whatsoever. We need to come up to the three dots, refresh the game list, and when I do, you're going to see this black and white logo light up. So let's refresh the list. Now you will see the color has appeared and we're now able to launch the game and play it. If you have an ISO game that gives a similar message about not being able to play undecrypted games, that means you have an encrypted ISO file, and we need to decrypt that. Thankfully, once again, it's very easy. I'll put a link in the description to this PS3 Deck Simple GUI tool, which you just need to open up on a Windows computer, and all you need to do is just simply drag your ISO game onto this window. Just drag it absolutely anywhere on this window, and it's going to decrypt the ISO for you and save it inside this decrypted ISOs folder. If you then put that back on your Android device, it will play perfectly fine. When it comes to troubleshooting game performance and games that don't run very well, there's unfortunately not too much we can do. Now we can do the obvious thing, which is to add different drivers by choosing the top three lines at the top of the screen here in RPCSX, coming to Settings, and coming down to Custom GPU Driver. Tapping on the plus button here, you can choose to install a driver you already downloaded in the past, maybe one you used with Switch emulation, Steam emulation, or something else. I will put a link in the description to this driver repository. Or you can choose the download option and actually download drivers directly inside RPCSX, which is a really nice feature. Hit OK, and then you can scroll through a few options here. If you check out compatibility reports on a website like mine, ryanretro.com, or emuready.com, you can see what other people have working well and choose the same driver as them. Let's say, for example, 25.3.0 revision 3 is working well on a game you want to play. Just select it here and hit import. It's going to download it for you and put it into the app. Then just click on the one you want to use. The one that is active will be highlighted blue. And you can now go back and try your games again with a different driver and hopefully get better performance. Another thing you can do is hit the three lines up here, come to Settings again, come to Advanced Settings, Video, and then you can lower the resolution, which might help a little bit. And here is also where you can change the aspect ratio from 16:9 to 4:3 if you're playing on a more square device like this. Anything that you've changed from the default settings will have a little asterisk next to it, so it's easy to see what you've messed with and put it back to how it was if anything breaks. Outside of this, there are many options that can be changed, but in my testing, none of them really help very much. We've had PlayStation 1 on Android since 2012, GameCube since 2013. Retroid launched with lots of different consoles in 2014, and so did PlayStation 2. But PlayStation 3 emulation has only existed on Android for 3 months. It's incredibly new and immature, so it doesn't have a lot of compatibility yet. And the games you want to run just might not be possible yet or might not run very well. But to me, it's amazing we even have this at all, considering the fact that 4 months ago it didn't even exist. So I'm really excited by PlayStation 3 emulation, but it's just not really running perfectly yet, and there's not too much we can troubleshoot to get things running well. In PS3e, we can also troubleshoot in pretty much the same way by hitting the three dots up here, coming down to Settings, Video Settings. Once again, we can change our resolution, we can change our aspect ratio, and down near the bottom of the video settings, if you click on Vulkan, and then scroll down a little bit more, we have Use Custom Driver. Check this, and here is where you can then load in a custom video driver just like we did in RPCSX. So click Custom Driver Library Path, Add Custom Driver, then I can find one of the custom drivers I downloaded from the link in the description, and it's going to load that in. We don't have the driver downloader like we have in RPCSX, but if you already have your drivers downloaded, you can load it in like that. And that is pretty much it. PlayStation 3 emulation as of September 2025. I'll be sure to make an update video to this if we get big improvements to performance and faster loading times, but for now, that is pretty much all you need to know. If you followed this guide from the beginning to the end, you should be all set up with your games working, whether they're an ISO file, a PKG file, whether they were in a zip, a RAR, or a game folder, you should have everything working well now as a working PKG or ISO file. You should be able to change the driver, you should be able to change the resolution and the aspect ratio, and I hope you're enjoying some PlayStation 3 gaming on your Android handheld or your Android phone. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already, because that really helps me out. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next guide. Have a lovely day.